Hey everyone, Genome here, coming at you with a greatest hits clip episode of everyone's favorite co-host of mine on the Greatest Note Show. Yes, we're talking about none other than that angry Canadian, Mr. Miracle.
I don't know what you're talking about. Hey.
I've taken the liberty of finding some of what I find his most, vociferous reviews, and I've compilated them together. New word today, compilated, for your viewing pleasure. One of the reasons, though, for this intro is to issue a slight warning there. For those of you with children or sensible virgin ears, maybe I meant to say sensitive virgin ears, but in any case, it shows you how shook up I got making this thing. You might want to have them exit the room because there is some profanity to be had, especially towards the end there when he starts talking about a certain artist.
Got a bad feeling about this.
But yeah, so just a small disclaimer there. There's going to be some profanity laced in throughout, but be sure to check out the great mining of salt within, and hope you all enjoy it. So until next time, this is Genome, sweating bullets because of the censors. Out.
All right, so the cover. Let's take a look at this orange piece of crap. Terrible. Terrible. What the heck is this?
I have it! And let's slip the dogs of war.
This is Phil Norwood. I was like, what is going on with this guy? I had to go and look him up. He is a storyboard artist for movies. Hey, Beth. Yep. Go back to what you're good at, because this is not it. These covers, what the hell? Look at this one. If you take your hand out of this guy, like your alien hand off him, it looks like the Predator's face is all smushed over to the left. Like there's no sense of anatomy. It's just a head. This one, this is like the flattest piece of crap. This guy cannot, I don't know. And then you come to what I think is a bit of a gem here. And we take a look at this one, which is by Dorman. I forget his first name already. But it's a painted cover, and he does a great job. And it's very painterly, and he does some great composition. Like, see how all these lines come in from the top like that? That's a trick that like good composition uses to draw your eyes back to the centerpiece here. And it really looks like these guys are cornered. The composition of the bodies is good. The coloring is good, right? So this cover impressed me. But I was like, what? Why would people even this be a popular one? It must be the name, because if I saw this cover on the shelf right now, there's no way I'm paying money for this, right? I'm like, no way. I have to give this a big boo earns. No, thank you. For Phil Norwood. Phil Norwood, like, if you know what storyboarding is for a movie, they kind of lay out the movie in what's basically a kind of a comic book stuff, but you don't have to have a lot of detail or anything. It's just simply a kind of an idea for the director to take a look at, and then the director actually does stuff with it, right? So to me, like, this cover looks like he inked out his first kind of layout, right? He didn't actually take the drawing to any sort of level before he bothered to ink it out. The anatomy is wrong. That ship in the background is weird. Why is the ship so clear and then that Predator so kind of out of focus, right? Like, that's not the way perspective works, bud, right? He's not a very good illustrator. I am going to have to give this one a thumbs down and a big fat because that's, if I can give it a 0, I would.
Are you gonna be nice?
I've never been nice my whole life. But I'll do my best to be sweet.
Wow!
Wait till I get to the interior.
Oh, man, that is rough. Man.
Okay, here's the moment everyone's been waiting for. Is Yukon Jack ready over there, or
Right, buddy.
should I go and hit my earphones now? So I'm going to go ahead and turn the salt mic over to Mr. Miracle. And Dave, tell us what you think about the interior art.
My mommy always said there wasn't monsters, but there are.
I just call you Newt now, or what?
Right. This interior art, and I am blaming the artist. Oh my God, the inker too. What a piece of whole garbage. Like you say, it's the inker's fault, but if you look at these aliens, they're not even in any way. Like their ribs are this, and they look like they're going that way and stuff. And I'm a big fan of H.R. Geiger. I really enjoy that man's art, and he would be appalled, appalled seeing an alien drawn like this. If I was the artist on this book, I would be embarrassed if you saw this, because this is childish. This looks like a book that me and my friends used to draw when I was in grade 8. Like if you tell me this is a professional artist, and I'm a little wary of that. So much unevenness. Like you said, the faces change from like not just like from page to page. There were literally times in this comic book where I had to go back and say, "Is that a different guy?" Because he looked so much different.
He is most displeased with your apparent lack of progress.
Right, like this mean rancher cowboy guy. He looks like a leprechaun in some. He looks like a leprechaun with a cowboy hat with a red beard, and then other times he looks like maybe Rick Grimes, and then other times it's just like, where is it going with all of this stuff, man? And I mean, the cover is probably the best he could do. So the interior is just dog shit, like just terrible. I was reading this and like either this is way over inked, so you can't see nothing, or there's no inking at all, so there's no shadows, and everybody just looks so flat, like they're just pressed against the comic page. And then there's different weird perspectives where, like, where they show like a big kind of background scene, and then all the stuff in the midground he makes out of focus, and then the background's in focus, and the foreground's in focus, and I'm like, what the fuck? It makes it look. Sorry, I shouldn't swear so much. I get so worked up about this guy.
I feel the conflict within you. Let go of your hate.
Because like you're just like, that looks really, really weird. Like if you know how things work, right? Your eyes don't get as much light from distant or from objects at a distance, right? So they look a little out of focus. But if you have midground stuff out of focus, background stuff in focus, and then foreground stuff in focus, that's not how eyes work. And it looks really, really weird to your brain, right? And if you have absolutely no shadows, I understand it's like a desert planet, but you have to have some shadow, a little bit, right? It'll just make it makes everything look pressed right against the whole comic panel. It's like no sense of depth at all in most of this stuff. And then all of a sudden it's just like, I'm going to shadow the living hell out of this one, and just goes nuts. Like you can't even see that panel. It's so shadowed out. And then the next panel, everything's all washed out. It's like, what are you guys doing here? All three of them, the inker, the colorist, the penciler, no good. And even here in this last issue, where they do have a different interior penciler. Sorry, what's this gentleman's name again? Chris Warner. Not a fan, right? Doesn't get any better in this one. Matter of fact, I think he's actually might be a little worse. Like it's just like, at least I think Chris is, at least he kind of does a better job of conveying. He does a better job of conveying like action, right? So it was good that he kind of got the big Predator fight one. But I mean, just look at that Predator. Like it looks like the Predator gained like 90 pounds all of a sudden. And then the next panel he's lost it. Must have went on Slim Fast. Anyway, big fat one. That's all I'm giving it on that one.
All right, one for Mr. Miracle. Well, it is consistent at least. I think, let's see, between all your scores so far, you have less than my score for the interior art. And finally, getting to our fourth distinguished presenter here, Mr. Miracle. What do you think about the story? Was I way off base, or are you a little more in line with Comic Cat 84 and saying that it was kind of bad?
They mostly come at night, mostly.
Okay, well, thank you for that, whatever that was.
Anyways,
You're a cool, aren't you?
the only thing fucking worse than this art on this book is the story. Oh my god. Did I ever have to force myself to fucking keep my focus on the page and not fall asleep or just fucking give up? Because this book is so wordy with all their politics, and then the characters are so wooden, and their dialogue is so dumb. Like, hey, Jim, we better get them there space doggies in a row. What you talking about, space doggies? they're taking our jobs. Like, the fucking guys are space guys, but they talk like they're a bunch of hicks that just stepped out of their, like, oh! I've been aiming it around the whole space cowboy show. Like, can we be more cliche?
Could it be any more orange?
Can we get more cliche lines in there?
Example.
What if you're not back in 20 minutes? Well, I'll be dead if I'm not back. Come on, man. How many times do I have to hear stupid freaking lines like that? Randy Stradisky is the vice president of Dark Horse Comics. He's one of the founders of Dark Horse Comics, and I guarantee you that is the only reason he got to write this fucking book.
I can feel your anger.
Because if anybody at Dark Horse Comics took a sample of his reading, read something like this, and gave him a comic book, they deserve to be out on their ass. This comic book writing is dumb. Like, it's one of those ones where I'm reading it and then I'm like, oh, what comic books would I buy if I won the lottery? Oh, right, reading, keep focusing, do it. And then, oh, I wonder if my cat is going to be, no, read the comic. Don't get so bored with all of this. Ranchers fighting against the corporation, and then the corporation's fighting against the spaceship guys crew, and the spaceship guys are having a political stuff with the guys back home. And it's like, oh my god, there's 2.5 books of nothing about these characters speaking like puppets, and all of a sudden this one girl who's this corporate person busts out like a ninja.
My hair! He shot my hair! Son of a bitch!
And all of a sudden she's better than all the predators. Like, predators are getting wasted by all the xenomorphs left and right, and she's walking through there, pow, 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 pow.
Holy shit!
Fucking taking them all out. I'm like, what the hell? Where the hell did this come from? And why did she make the predators look like such a bag of pussies here? Right? Like, what's going on? Is this aliens versus this corporate chick, or is this aliens versus predator? And the fact that all of a sudden there's this Captain Nice Predator, One Tooth, why, I'll help you all out. Fuck off, man. Like, these guys are ruthless hunters. They have a different kind of culture. They're not helping out anybody. Ridiculous story. One, I give this I grudgingly give it a 1.
So let's go ahead and get to the home stretch here. Let us talk about the overall scores and just briefly go over why you gave it to him. So we'll go ahead and start at the top of the order again. Mr. Marigold, please give us your overall score and let us know what you think.
I've been looking forward to this.
Regardless of the concept, because it was so poorly executed, the covers suck. The interior art is amateurish. The dialogue is wooden and boring. The story is cliche. The action sequences in the book are flat and don't convey very much of any kind of action. Things are either over inked or not inked at all. Lots of real issues with anatomy, with consistency. I'm going to take a little page from my man, Comic Kid 84, and fucking...
Now, release your anger. Only your hatred can destroy me.
Out of here with that fucking thing, man. These books are getting filed.
I've never done it that aggressively, for the record.
These books are getting filed in the recycling bin. I am not putting these stinkers into my collection. I would be embarrassed if anybody came around and, hey, you've got Aliens versus Predator. No, don't look at that. Oh, it's like your ugly cousin. You know, something, I don't know. It's just, I can't do it. No, these guys are out of here. I'm overall, uno.
Ooh, rough.
All right, rather unsurprising score here coming in from up north. But hey, what are you going to do, right?
And I guess, Dave, you are next.
That would be me.
That would be you. What say you about this story? Is it a Scribner's delight, or is this, something that you should throw in the bottom of a garbage can?
Well, I'm gonna file this one under G, I'm afraid. As good as the interior art is, the story is so lame. Like, oh, it drives me nuts. Like,
The hate is swelling in you now.
it's like we have these stories, and the dialogue, it doesn't sound like two people talking. It sounds like one person talking to themselves. Like, it's obviously John Byrne having a conversation with himself. And I find the dialogue very, well, what should we do? Well, let's go do this. Well, how can we do that? Well, we're the same person, and we're just talking to one another. And it's so I don't like the dialogue. I don't like the way he writes dialogue. John Byrne really needs Chris Claremont for a dialogue.
Is that a fact? That's a fact.
And the whole concept of the story, just like you said, like they get hired by this mystery character, but then all of a sudden this mystery character is showing up to save the She-Hulk from the guys that he hired to stop. Like, I'm like, what the fuck is he doing? Right? Why doesn't he just contact these guys and be like, hey, bring her over, get her ass over here, right? Like I hired you to do. Why has he got to go there and save her? And then Bernie does the thing I hate the most. I hate it when comic books or movies do this. It stops being a She-Hulk comic and starts being a Glamora comic from here on out.
It's a trap!
Right? She-Hulk isn't back into it until the end. I get friggin' 12 and a half pages of Glamora comic. I want to see Glamora. I want to see She-Hulk. I don't want to see She-Hulk on robot control from the Ringmaster's powers. I want to see Jennifer having proper dialogue and doing things. So, Boo Burns. And then again with the campiness and let's go and retell her story, and then he starts retelling the Incredible Hulk story, and then no, don't do that. But it was obligatory to get that in there, and it just then there was the mystery of who pushed the wagon, but that just kind of panned out. Oh, it was her in one panel, and they kind of dropped that whole thing, and the story went nowhere. Absolutely nowhere. Even in the last panel, you're like, this is a big reveal, but it's not a big reveal because we've been seeing these characters in little panels throughout this whole book. Mm-hmm. So it's not a surprise ending in any way. And this Glamora comic, right, in the middle here, yeah, I'm not happy about it. I don't like why would you change her into like this Red Sonja looking kind of Amazon-y chick, right?
How revolting.
I mean, that thing with the whole lifting up the audience, that's just comic book physics, right? That's the kind of physics that makes the Incredible Hulk pick up an entire building from the corner, right? You can't do that in real life. It would be even hard, like your hands would punch through the bottom of a car if you just picked it up with one hand because the sheet metal under there isn't even strong enough. But so I don't mind that kind of stuff. I expect that kind of comic booky stuff, but I really hate that the She-Hulk isn't really in it for about half of the issue. So I gave the story a 1. I thought it was terrible.
Ooh. Harsh.
Next up, let's see if Dave's gonna eviscerate this story and call it some jabroni Mickey Mouse Club. Is it Mickey Mouse Club or is it I don't know, better than that? What do you say, Dave?
Oh, this is gonna be great.
Oh, the story. Oh, whose idea was it to read this one? That was your call on this issue, right, Kenny?
I did put it on the voting block. Yes.
Yeah, man. Don't think I won't fly to New England. And like, you would not have words if you recommend books like this to me.
You were the chosen one! It was said that you would destroy this Sith, not join them!
Man, the story is hard to read. Like, it's a gathering issue. Like, it's the first issue, and they're all gathering up these guys, and they're picking all these crazy little character teenage guys, and they're putting them all together in this big team, and they're all being stopped. And every time I read Teen Titans #1, I always get this weird wait. No, I mean New Warriors #1. I just get that. It was so fucking obviously trying to rip them off. All their characters are rip-off guys. Like, everybody's like, Night Thrasher. Night Thrasher has some good moments, but I've seen Batman do everything that he's done. He's the Marvel's answer to Batman, but
how dare you?
He's not. He's a very watered down version of Batman. the character, like the story, is such weird little non sequitur. Like, yeah, when Night Thrasher drops Richard Rider, and he gets his powers back, everybody's like, "That's cool," and I'm like, "Yeah, okay, that one panel is kind of cool. That little element." I was like, "Oh, this might not be too bad." But then Richard Rider flies up and he's like, "Oh, you almost killed me. Hey, let's be teammates." No, that's not going to happen. Like, if anybody tries to kill me the first time we meet, it's going to be like friends off.
You're such an asshole.
Like, we're not hanging out. We're not going to join a team, right? So that didn't make sense to me. Then he goes around and gathers up all his little weirdos, right? That he's been tagging all this stuff, and he's like, "Hey, this is my real identity. Come to my secret cave and check out all my secret stuff. I know we just met. It's cool." What? Fuck off, Night Thrasher. As if you're like, you think Batman's gonna like meet some guy on the street and then take him down to the Batcave, tell him he's Bruce Wayne? No, right? That's just weird. That's just totally bad, weird writing. The choices of characters are terrible. Like, anybody who likes Speedball, fuck, I hate that character. Speedball is the reason why I stopped collecting comics for a while. Like, literally, I read that Speedball issue and I was like, "What the hell? That's it for me. I'm out." If they're gonna put out crap characters like this in the '90s, I'll pick this. I'll start collecting again in 2000s, right? Because it's just, it wasn't. And this story is a perfect example of how they take a really big, important, we're going to have this new team, we're going to get all these guys, and let's get this writer who has absolutely no experience whatsoever, and then we'll get this Mark Bagley guy he's got pretty good stuff, but he's got no experience, and we'll get them to do this issue. But this is terrible, man, and it's cliche, and Terrax would destroy these guys, and so they come up with this cute little way of lifting him off the ground and exploding. And it just happened that Nemorita was among these college students watching when Terrax came out. And I was like, what? Like, she just was there? How coincidental. How nice for that. And the whole thing with Marvel Boy. Hey, we don't have the facilities to train you. If the Avengers don't have the facilities to train somebody, who the hell does? Nobody, right? Like, this guy took way too many liberties with the Avengers, with these characters, trying to rush everything together into this big gathering story. Terrax, the main villain, he was totally watered down. It was terrible. The characters are whiny. I mean, I know they're supposed to be teenagers. I have a teenager, and she's pretty whiny some days.
I do too.
Yeah. So it's like, oh man. But yeah, I wasn't too happy, and I'm not happy with the big, like at the end where the Avengers are like, "Oh, you beat Terrax? Good job, beat it," right? Like, Captain America knows who Terrax is. He's going to be coming in there going, "Holy shit, you guys beat Terrax? Like, you guys are way more powerful than I gave you credit for." And then the whole, everybody put your hands clichely in the center and we'll join together to be the new warriors. Lacks. That just lacks, man. Story, 1. And that's like, because I have to give it a 1. Can I give it a 0?
I think zeros are allowed.
If you give it a 0,
Like, I would give it a 1, except that it's totally, you just ripped off Teen Titans #1, totally, from fucking beginning to end. And the whole, 0.
0. Mr. Miracle. What do you say about the concept of the New Warriors, #1?
Well, like I've been saying, this is just a straight up rip off of lots of other comics. It's a gathering issue. You know, Night Thrasher, who's a rip off of Batman, is gathering up all of his weirdo friends to put it together in a team, and then you're like, oh, who's like really weird, kind of crazy guys that we could put together? Nobody's using this character, and nobody's using that character, and we'll just put them all in a team. I hated the concept. It's just too typical, right? And then using the people that they use. Marvel Boy is originally a Golden Age hero. Firestar, she started on a Saturday morning cartoon. Nemorita, I'm not sure if she was from the original Submariner run in the 40s.
she wasn't from the Bronze Age run.
She is from the Bronze Age?
Yep.
Okay. Kid Nova, who's actually Nova, Richard Rider, right? He's been around since 1974. Speedball, he shows up in the Spider-Man annual. Terrible, terrible character. Hate Speedball. Hate him so much. Well, they tried to make him Spider-Man, right? Like they tried to make him that quippy Peter Parker Spider-Man kid, and it just didn't land. You know what I mean? It was just not. And to a certain extent, they did that with Nova too, like trying to make him a Spider-Man again and get that hit. But again, he just didn't quite land with audiences in that same way that Peter Parker did, right? And Spider-Man does. So all of these characters, they're either coming from like television shows or they're just a straight up rip off of other characters. The whole concept is a straight up rip off of several other different stuff. I mean, especially like I just kept reading this going, yeah, the whole idea, they just read Teen Titans #1 and was like, oh, well, we'll do this, but we'll just we'll put a skateboard guy in there because that's cool, right? Or we'll put Firestar in there because all those guys will remember her from Saturday morning cartoons. And, so it's a money grab issue. It's trying to, throw these people together to make a bunch of sales for something that, is subpar. Concept wise, just because it's such a ripoff, I'm just going to give it a 1.5. I mean, at least they don't just only have mutants or anything. They mix it up quite a bit. But yeah, no, I wasn't happy with the concept either.
We'll go ahead and lead off with Mr. Miracle since he's kind of the first in rotation anyway. And like as usual, I think we can go ahead and start with the most recognizable thing about this book, the cover. So, Dave, what did you think about this cover?
The cover? Well, everybody's probably quite familiar with this cover. It's one of Todd McFarlane's most reproduced covers, especially by himself. Right? He is captain of the fucking cover swipe, and especially his own cover swipes that he did with Marvel.
Perhaps you think you're being treated unfairly?
Not cool. It is, but it isn't. I mean, it's McFarlane and iconic, and I guess McFarlane fans like it. To me, in this cover, he changed Wolverine's claws forever. They weren't really that shape prior to this book, and he did that so that he could get this reflection. And that's the kind of pissy attitude that fucking Todd McFarlane usually puts into anything that he does. He just wants to change whatever, do whatever, merchandise whatever, just to show off for himself, right?
Yo, man, you best back off. I'm getting a little pissed here.
And this cover is a lot of that, right? And you get a lot of that movement in his work, that all the extra lines that he thinks he's putting in detail, and all that scratchy shit that he puts all over that stuff. The reflection doesn't really make much sense based on the angle that he's at anyway with the Hulk there. Like, those blades are going to have to be pretty flat, I think, or we're going to have to be at a weird angle. Wolverine's holding his fist like this. What the fuck? Right? Like, give me a break, man. Yeah, no, don't like it. Don't like the big wispy Wolverine mask. Don't like the little tiny beady eyes on his Cupid doll heads that he loves to draw. Don't like the way he draws the Hulk. Makes him look like a fat old man all the time. Sorry, not a fat old man. He makes him look like an old man that used to be fat and had lost about 600 pounds in 2 months, right? Because he's always got the big saggy skin all over and stuff. Hate the Hulk that McFarlane draws. This cover, I know it's iconic or whatever, and people like it. I think it serves the purpose to let you know what's going to happen in the book. So I gave it a 2.5.
All right, 2.5. So let me get everything pulled back up to where it was.
Okay, that was my nice rant about him. Next one, I'll get a little more tart.
Not entirely stable. I'm glad you're here to tell us these things.
Well, yeah. Please don't hide your feelings next time.
Yeah, don't hold anything back on our account there, Dave.
I'll tell you how I really feel in a minute.
Let's get a non-jaded look at things. So, Mr. Miracle, what did you think about
his beef was with McFarlane. Let's see how he feels about Peter David.
This is true. Does the writer bear the sins of the artist? Let's find out. Mr. Miracle, if you would.
All right.
Oh, dear. He's pulling an Arthur here. All right.
Oh, man.
Man, you just killed Metarog. Thanks a lot.
Let's get into this.
If it drives him to drink, I don't even want to think about what's going to happen.
All right.
I had what alcoholics refer to as a moment of clarity.
What the fuck? This is a boring story. This is supposed to be like an epic fight. First off, did Wolverine's balls drop off? Like, what the fuck? The whole time he's sitting behind the controls of anything, he's like, I don't know. Will I be a beast? Will I be a leader? Will I, oh. And then he does the writer, he does that one really bad, annoying thing that I hate when writers do, and they go down the list of everybody and talk about their powers. Well, geez, we'll use my luck power. Well, Rogue, why don't you use your superpower and go out and save that? And I'll use my psionic power. Like, shut the fuck up. We know who the X-Men are. All right, you don't need you to explain their superpowers, and I don't need you to do whatever you're doing to Wolverine there. I mean, there's Wolverine, man. If the Hulk has like attacked him, and then he's gonna be like, nah, I don't want to fight. Bullshit. He's like, oh yeah, Bob, let's do this.
He does. He does.
Right? Because what he does, he's the best at what he does, but what he does isn't very nice. And when they pussy him up in this book, I'm just like, oh my god. And then they make the Hulk whiny too, right? Like he's like, I don't want to be there, and I'm hungry, and I'm just gonna go out and get something to eat. And it's like, and then everything's so coincidental, and then they finally meet up. And there's like, yes, finally the battle, and let's fight, and blah, blah, blah. And they never shut the fuck up in the whole thing and fight.
I can feel your anger. It gives you focus, makes you stronger.
There's like panel to panel after word pages. And then finally they end on this weird note where the Hulk gets shot with a bazooka, and they're all like, oh, you're right, let's just like chill. I mean, this is Wolverine in a rage. This is Hulk in a super rage. And they're just like, yeah, whatever, right? Like, you're right. Like, thanks for shooting me with the bazooka. Kind of brought me around. Like, no. Hated the story of this book. I hated this particular time in the Hulk. And the Hulk used to be my favorite, and I actually stopped collecting Hulk right around this time in the Hulk's period. I give the story a lackluster 2.
This will not stand.
It kind of is good in a way of putting these two guys together in a fight, but yeah, wow. 2. And I did like the joke about Dallas.
My serviceable grade notwithstanding, Mr. Miracle, what's your take on the interior art? I'm sure this is going to be a live one.
Hang on a second, I need a refill.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
Dude, just drink straight from the bottle and skip the middleman.
Oh, man.
This is what Grader's Notes does to people.
Oh, boy.
Cheerio.
I tell you.
Well, you suck that one down, too. You didn't do that during the Liefeld books.
What the fuck?
Oh, boy, oh, boy, oh, boy.
Interior art sucks so much. Oh my god, it's so McFarlane. Big Cupid doll heads and little beady eyes. Look at them all, beady eye everywhere. You got a beady eye, you got a beady eye. Oh, there's the leader, he's got beady eyes. I hate this leader. I like the little guy with the mustache and the big head. I don't like the brain leader guy that they did.
Half-Life.
They seem to kind of take on, or catch on in that sort of form. I guess he's more interesting. I've seen other artists do this leader much, much better than Todd McFarlane does it, though. Lots of black shadows for no apparent reason. Lots and lots and lots of lines that he's pretending are detail. Lots of melting hulks everywhere with the big jowls. And then, oh, this one kills me. This one, I'm going to steal this one for sure. What the hell is that panel?
You have failed me for the last time,
McFarlane.
I mean,
oh man,
dude, Rob Liefeld kicks this guy's ass all over the place.
Oh man,
this is ridiculous. they don't have any big like the biggest. This is the biggest splash page they got, and it's like sliced into 4 panels. I mean, he's so lazy, just black. It's just black. I didn't do my page big enough. Well, just put a black bar at the bottom. That'll work. Just put it black. Fucking lazy cunt.
You obviously have a wonderful economy with words.
Sorry. He gets my dander up.
Just a warning to all those with kids. This might not be the show for watching this evening.
may not be family friendly tonight.
Graders notes PG-13 for sure.
Ha! Yeah, kill me.
Do you think a lot of kids watch your channel, your horror movie reviews, David? Anyways, yeah, lots of lines that don't make any sense, don't add detail to things. Like, there's our engine again. Sure, a lot of lines in that panel. None of them on the engine to make it look like an engine. And the big weird Hulk that's... So, look at this. That Hulk in there.
Ugly motherfucker.
What the hell's the matter with him? I'm melting. I've got like it's looks like his head just deflated into his face. You know what I mean? Interior art 0.
Wow, you heard it here, folks. The first 0 ever given on Graders Notes. Something lower than Aliens vs. Predator books in your scorecard. That's amazing. I can feel vindicated now. Well, we're going to go ahead and move on to our final grade, and that's the overall score. Sometimes we use the aggregate. Sometimes we make a judgment call, but usually we try to keep it pretty objective. So we're going to start with who we led off with originally. So, Dave, why don't you go and give us your overall score?
Hang on. One for the road here.
Oh, dear.
This stuff will make you a goddamn sexual tyrannosaurus. Just like me.
Yes.
This stream sponsored by Crown Royal.
I tell you, is he going to monetize the channel with that? I mean,
Oh yeah, if they want to sponsor us, I'll be all over it.
You're making D-Run look bad, man. He's sitting there just drinking beer. Come on now.
American beer too. Terrible. Terrible.
It's true. It's true. It's terrible stuff.
We'll go there. So, you know, McFarlane's such a piece of shit, right? Like,
Your hate has made you powerful.
the whole thing, you know, it just reminds me of this whole thing that he had with Alan Moore and Miracle Man, and then he came out with the whole idea of, okay, well, you know, Alan Moore sued him and he won and he wasn't allowed to use a character, so he got all pissy, and then so he made the Man of Miracles, right? I'm like, fuck off, right? Like, maybe I'm gonna make Bat the guy, right? That's gonna be my new comic book, and he lives in the Bat Tree house and or fucking drives around in on the Bat auto, right? Like, no, idiot. Hate Todd McFarlane so much. He's always this.
Much anger in him.
And you know when I started to hate the guy, and I believe it was Spawn number 5, and I was reading the letters pages, and there was a kid's letter who had written into Todd McFarlane, and he didn't like everything that Todd was doing with Spawn, so he's like, oh, you know, I had some suggestions and this and that, and if you did this, and Todd got all pissy, and he published the kid's letter in there with all the spelling mistakes in it, and made fun of him for, you know, not being able to spell as well. And you're like, fuck you, man. There's never been anything that Todd McFarlane has published that didn't have a proofreader go over it with a fucking fine-tooth comb before it got published. And he published a kid's letter like that, and the man's in his 30s at that point, and this kid is probably, you know, 10, 12 years old, and he's being a piece of shit to him. Fuck you, you cunt.
So uncivilized.
And I never bought another fucking Spawn issue after that, and I hate Todd McFarlane. He made me stop collecting Hulk. He made me stop collecting The Amazing Spider-Man because I hated him so goddamn much.
Hi, I'm with the Port Commission.
Only Image comics that I took on was Spawn, because all my friends were like, everybody has to be Spawn. So I bought a few issues. After issue 5, I was like, go fuck yourself. I am not fucking interested in you, and I never have been after that. I have a few issues that have Todd McFarlane on it, simply because they have value to them, and I'm always adding value to my comic book collection. Other than that, man, I wouldn't pay $1 for an issue that was just a Spawn issue or whatever. That man sucks as a human being. He's a fucking rip-off artist. Only thing he's interested in is merchandising everybody else's ideas for his own gain. He has no original concepts. All of his stuff is fucking ridiculous. He's a piss poor artist and an even worse writer and an even worse human being.
I'm tired of your I said throw down, boy.
Finish him.
So, that being said, the overall of this book, I give it. Put it right down. I'll say it's serviceable and call it a 2.5.
All too easy.
Wow.
Okay, 2.5. That was
his overall thoughts on McFarlane, not necessarily the issue.
After all that he said, he's still rated higher than Aliens vs. Predator book.
That was like, your diatribe, faint praise, and then you give him a average score. I mean, wow.